Hey, Energy family, welcome back to the Ascension Files. I'm here with Victorious Rose, and we're going to be telling her story of Ascension and everything that she's come across in her life in terms of spirituality and higher consciousness. You have a Telegram channel called A New Earth Project, and you have a lot of awesome content that you post talking about kind of star seeds, light workers, way showers, this new earth paradigm, what's coming, what are we about? So let's jump right into your project. Let's jump right into New Earth Project and talk about how you came up with this idea. Where did you get your motivations from, and kind of what it's all about?
Okay. So I'm naturally a communicator and an encourager. I've spent my whole life encouraging everybody. So I've been doing that on Facebook for years, like crazy. And I had so many niches that I could go after in the business world or in ministry. And at first, it started out as my Love the World project. And then I thought, well, I'm going to want to add a lot of people to collaborate with and to promote them so that we can all find each other. So I turned it into our Love the World project. And basically, that allows me to put pretty much anything under that umbrella, because anything that I'm doing for humanity is going to be under that. And then I don't have to worry about that. And I can add whoever I want to the mix, to the mission. So there's that. And it all revolves around, us all collaborating to promote the new earth paradigms. So we're constantly adding to the mix of new paradigms, and it's not like hustle and bustle anymore, right? It's go with the flow and just, that sort of thing. And I'm not like all the way there by any means. I have so much to learn, which is why I'm out there doing what I am so much. While I'm learning everything and feeding my soul, I just keep giving it and giving it back because I just feel like, I feel led to do that. So, what would you think are some of the new paradigms?
Let's start business. I'm such a businessman. I actually had to stop business because of how disgusting it was. Like being in Tampa and on the surface, how beautiful it was. And everyone's about making connections and everyone's about serving each other. And then it comes about the money. And then, well, once the money's there, all those new earth paradigms go out the window. It's about them greenbacks. Let's talk about social responsibility, triple bottom line, people, planet, profit. Let's talk about corporate responsibility. Let's talk about businesses that take a buttload of tax write-offs, incentives to start plants and businesses in certain cities and states, and then they don't give back to those cities and states. So let's talk about, what does New Earth business look like? What do New Earth business partnerships look like? What do New Earth contracts look like? These are the things that I'm thinking about. So how do we change that? How do we, with these New Earth paradigms, how do we change business so it's not about profit, but it's about people, then planet, then profit?
Well, maybe we need to change the word business. Maybe we need to not be business focused.
It's only business, right?
I think it needs to be mission focused. If we're focused on business, then we're probably already focused on money. And that's how we got to this problem in the first place, right? So, I just even cringe when I hear the word business. Like, I don't have a fear of money. I'm totally okay with money. I'm going to let the abundance come in, nothing like that. Like, money is not bad. It's what you do with it that's bad. It's the greed and the selfishness that's bad. So I would say we need to be mission focused. And I love how you said about horizontal, I forget how you put it, but I'm thinking of leadership.
That's what I said.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Keith Ferrazzi.
Mm-hmm.
You have?
Mm-hmm.
That's another one of the channels that I have, is Humanitarian 5D Leadership. And I just found him and Lisa Nichols. They are great examples. So I think when you say business, I'm thinking of leadership and mission more so. Like, if we replace business with leadership and mission, especially Keith Ferrazzi talks about that a lot. He comes at it from a very non-egotistical, humble, teamwork-oriented leadership. So not managing, but leadership.
As much as we want to get rid of business, it's not going anywhere. That word's not going anywhere. There's just billions of people that are focused on that. And when you have a consciousness that's focused on business, it's just not going to change. The idea is changing the perspective of business. And the idea is not allowing shitty companies to rise to the top anymore. It's about, I feel like we need to get to a point where we're policing each other, where business people are policing business people, where we're monitoring one another, and not in a way of competition and all this stuff that doesn't mean anything. When I got rid of competition in my life, I was very competitive. I played sports my whole life. I was in the military. I did all these things. I love competition. But how quickly does competition turn ugly? And then it becomes people cheating and people cutting corners, and then people, treating each other like crap to win. What is winning? Because your score is better than the other person's score you won? Is that how we're going to play in these new earth paradigms still, with all this ego based, like you were talking about? That's what it is business is all ego based. Like even, it's all about making the money. It's all about how much money you have in your bank account, what's the GDP of your country? How much does your business produce? It's all about production. It's all about what you can give and what, you know what I mean? And so something we're going to have to move away from is this idea that the only way you're successful is if you keep making more money each year. You know what I mean? Like, that's an impossibility. Everything comes to an end at some point. And the fact that America focuses only on GDP is why we've consumed the world. And you can tell that we consume the world because we've left our footprint everywhere we've gone. Look at Guatemala.
Well, you have to redefine what success is.
What is success to you?
What the heck we care about? I mean, success cannot be money. I mean, there's never going to be enough money if people are aiming for money and wealth. I mean, there's no end to it. I mean, and what's the use of it? Okay, you got $5 billion in the bank, but you're not helping anybody. You're not improving the world. You're just greedy and selfish. Like, that's, boom, away with all that. Well,
but how do you get rid of something like that? Because here's the thing: is if we start making decisions and choices for people, then we're going right back to what that's communism. It's socialism. It's the same systems that come in play, where singular human experiences believe that their singular human experience is the only human experience, and then they project that human experience on everyone outside of them. How do we get people to choose for themselves to live a life a different way, to business a different way, to build relationships in a different way?
Well,
and in my opinion, is we lead from the
that.
front.
We have to, yes, we be the example. It's all about being an example. I mean, we can't. Could you please adopt this idea and just like implement it? Like, no,
but how often do we do it? But how often is that argument? How often is that argument when we're talking to people? It's like, say you're getting it. I used to get this a lot when I'd be arguing with somebody about how I'm feeling, and then they'll say something that's really disrespectful, and I was like, "What was that?" And they're like, "You know what I meant. You know me." Like, no, I don't know you enough. Obviously, if you're going to say something like that, and that's going to make me triggered, and that's exactly what happens in business when we come into marketing, is we aren't actually sure of this product, but we're gonna color it really nicely. We're gonna put some really pretty font on it. We're gonna put some razzle dazzle
illusions,
and then hopefully you'll decide to buy it, to try it, to realize it wasn't for you, but you still spent your money. It's all manipulation.
Don't even get me started. This pisses me off. How many things have went to market, and you can tell that the people only cared about making a buck. They don't care. They did not implement the idea and see it all the way through. Like, for a successful product, they're like, well, here's a half-ass product. Here, spend your money on that. Yeah, we know that there's like 5,000 flaws in there and it's totally uncomfortable and but thanks for your money. I mean, it's so frustrating to me. I wish I was on every design team. Like, don't get me started.
And here's the thing too about that. But here's this is nothing's made in America anymore. Nothing's made in our own country, so it doesn't have the standards of quality that it used to have. And so everything's from China, and it's made by slaves. What do you think the products are going to be when they're made by slaves? Why do you think you go to Kohl's, you buy a t-shirt, and within 3 weeks it stinks? It's because it's cheap and it's made from slaves. And energy is energy. And so that's, again, what we're talking about in the New Earth Project. I'm all heated up. I'm all razzled. I'm all frazzled. I feel great because this is what I'm about.
We need to care more about, holy crap, it's made by slaves. I'm never using, this company or whatever. Like, that needs to be the number one thing.
Kohl's makes all their clothes in Xinjiang, which is the Muslim concentration camp.
There you go. We need to make a list of all the companies that we know of that. Well, I know I've seen the satanic thing about Nike going around.
Oh,
I mean, I would love to see like a list of all the people that we should how do you say that? not used anymore.
A boycott. Yeah.
Or what is it called?
Boycott.
Yes, that word. I mean, it's probably going to be almost all of them, much like Hollywood. Like, who in Hollywood isn't a pedophile, human trafficking, yada yada, satanic? Okay, just write off most of them. Okay, I mean, is that pretty much how it's going to be? Well, probably, right?
When was the last good movie? In the last year, when was the last good movie that came out?
I don't know. I don't keep up with that shit.
No, and that's what I'm saying.
Like, I am so freaking done with Hollywood.
Oh,
like,
of course, but like I was actually thinking about going to a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just wanted to take myself to go do something cool. And I looked up the movies and I was like, what? Who are these people? Because there's no real actors anymore because they're all arrested. And I was like, who are these people? And what are these movies? They're crap. And they're all regurgitated. We're on like Fast 12. Fast and the Furious is on like the 12th movie and everyone's CGI. I don't even think they have real actors in that thing anymore. So
well, I do look forward to everybody, coming forward with like, we're going to need new actors. And I love that. I mean, I have a friend, I'm like, oh my gosh, you need to be one of the new paradigm actors, like, pure-hearted stuff. Yeah, everything needs to be done. Everything needs to be redone. The new paradigms, I'm thinking like, I just want to go in there and throw all the fucking fake food off the shelf, and start brand new. Like, what? This ain't even food. Look, there's 500 ingredients in here. Like, why are we doing this?
And my favorite part of that is the FDA. Oh, the FDA didn't clear it, or the FDA cleared it. What does the FDA matter? What cleared or not? Who paid them off? The fact people still throw these words around like, oh, the FDA, and oh, that's not legal. What's legal and not legal anymore? Because the last time I checked, the Constitution was the creme de la creme of legality, and it's not even considered in making law or mandated.
If people go according to laws and rules, I mean, they're never going to make any sense. They can be broken at any point. I always say I don't follow rules and laws. I follow morals and values, integrity. That's it. That covers freaking everything. I don't. If somebody fucking makes a law that says, well, you know what, you can't really breathe fresh air today, we want you to put this mask on. No. Nobody has the right to take away our right to breathe or anything. You go by morals and values.
And that's another thing. And here's another new earth paradigm.
You don't need a constitution to tell it. Sorry, I had to put that in there.
No, absolutely. And we don't. But here's the thing: is 275 plus years ago, several people came together and created a document that is still pertinent to today. Does it need to be updated? Absolutely needs to be updated. Does it need to be revised? Of course it needs to be revised, but the foundation of the Constitution is exactly what we need this new earth to be, because it is all about the individual pursuit. It's all about individual freedoms, being able to worship what you want to worship. I have no problem with religions. I have no problem with somebody sticking spikes through their back and hanging from their back skin if that's what they want to do as a religion. I swear people do that shit. It's fucking weird, right? But if that's what you're into, that's fine. But your experience, your human experience is your human experience. But
you can do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anyone.
And here's the thing, like you were saying, if I follow a moral code of integrity, which is doing the right thing when nobody's looking, if I'm honest, if I have a spiritual foundation, I'm accountable to something bigger than myself, I'm not going to go do something really stupid or bad or immoral, because it's like, why do I need to do that when I have something bigger than myself? But what we're seeing is we're seeing a decay of soul in the old earth. And the fact is that people don't care about themselves. They're in fear of themselves. And that is what I notice is a big difference, is that this is why people can acquiesce. They can put masks on their faces when they don't believe in it. They can get jabbed with shit that they know is not going to be good for them, is they're not scared, and they don't care about themselves because they abuse themselves constantly. They are in fear of themselves. They're in fear of what other people will think of them. They're in fear of getting sick. They're in fear of not following the trends. They're in fear of losing their jobs. They're in fear. It's fear. The braids of time have unraveled, and we have two ropes, two places to go. You can go towards spirit and truth, or you can go towards fear and illusion. And New Earth paradigms are all about breaking the illusions so people can realize that fear itself is a fucking illusion, and that you can finally choose yourself.
Yes.
You can finally choose yourself.
Yes.
And so how did you get to this point? Like, how did you get to the point of realizing, like, this is bullshit? I've been playing in this matrix game for so many years. It's done nothing for me but drive me crazy and get me sick. When did all of a sudden you were just like, you wake up and you're just like, I'm not doing it anymore?
Oh, I definitely have had those moments. And I mean, I feel myself slip back into it all the time. It's like, how do I get out of it now? It's like you got to constantly get out of that matrix and all the other matrices. You find out like there's not just one. You're like, oh, here, this is even the spiritual matrix. There's, but there was definitely a moment. I remember the exact day and moment. and there's many little moments that led up to that. But driving home from work one day and just looking around, and I mean, how many times I've looked around and go, I mean, everything looks, nice. You got new cars, new buildings, landscape, but this is a fucked up world. Like it looks like we're doing okay, but like we're not doing okay. And I was just like, it was what I call my moment of enough. And I was just like, enough. I'm just like screaming in the car. I'm just like, enough. There's got to be more than life. There's got to be more to life than this. And I was like, God, use me big, And well, this is when I make a joke. God's really got a sense of humor because he turned me into a truck driver. And I was like, that's not what I meant by big. So anyway, but definitely that, like, so many illusions around it. It's just so messed up, and there's got to be more. And I realized the world is so much bigger and more magical than we've ever been led to believe, and God is so much bigger and more magical than we've ever been led to believe. And I mean, we're still learning so much. I mean, even just the word universe. I heard somebody talk about multiverse. I'm like, do we have a multiverse? I mean, there's always more to learn. Like, you're never done, which is great, because if you get bored, well, something's wrong. There, that means it's quite an illusion matrix you're in.
I personally think the multiverse is and isn't what people think and explain it to be. What I personally think is that nothing is real that doesn't happen that our consciousness sees in the now moment. So like if something doesn't matter to us because it hasn't materialized in front of us for us to engage with. So everything that doesn't materialize in front of us is just a thought. It's a reality that's not of reality. So when we close our eyes, we enter the realm of we enter the realm of possibility, your quantum realm. And when we open our eyes and we bring that into our reality through creation or through manifestation, then we enter the realm of actuality. So we actualize the possibility that we were creating in our quantum computer, because this is the multiverse. So what happens is when you think of something, positive or negative, right? You create a timeline. And that timeline will go on its own. It's almost like a carbon copy of yourself goes on to live that timeline and will live all the choices. And that is how your guides and your higher self know exactly what's going to happen to 99.9% of the time, because they basically can take the quantum computer, which is the multiverse, run all the simulation scenarios on it. I call it game theory. And then basically figure out, if you make this choice, this is where you're going to end up. If you make this choice, this is where you're going to end up. That's how they've been able to control the consciousness on this planet over the last 2,000 years. Specifically, I would say the last 70 years, is because they created this thing called the looking glass. And all the looking glass was a giant quantum computer that was the fastest quantum computer in the entire world. And it could basically game theory out scenarios to where if you did these parameters and you got this people to believe this, and you got these people to do this, and you got this government to do that, this is what will occur. And so they don't actually control people. They don't control the world. They control our consciousness by showing us what we need to see to create, to manifest the reality that they're trying to manifest. It's fucking brilliant. And that's another new earth paradigm, is everything's not being destroyed. YouTube's not going away. Instagram's not going away. Kohl's isn't going away. Big Lots isn't going away. All this shit isn't going away. What it's going to do is it's going to be repurposed. It's so the infrastructure for New Earth is already in place. All we got to do is put the right people, or wake up the people who are sleeping and causing all the decay. What happens if they're walk-ins? What happens if all of a sudden they have a spiritual, a Kundalini awakening, and they're no longer wanting to just want money? We don't know all these things. We don't know who's in CNN right now. We don't know the spiritual ascension of all the people, say in the Chinese government. We don't know what's going on right now. But what we do know, coming from you and I, is that what's happening in our lives, we're seeing reflected in the hologram. And that means if it's happening with us, it's happening with others, and it's only a matter of time before everything shifts, because it's all energy. And it's all energy.
I'm hearing more and more people talk about repurposing things. Definitely, there's more than a couple of us looking at repurposing malls. Would be interested in hearing more about how you see these other things and like some of the crummy stuff. You know, how do we even take over stuff like that so that we're not continuing to poison people with this crap ass so-called food and just all this stuff? And
it's got to be choice. It's got to be discernment. At the end of the day, we have to choose for ourselves. And that's the issue, is that people believe they don't have a choice. And because they believe they don't have a choice, they think they're victims to everything that's going on in their life. And at the beginning of 2020, I was 200 pounds. I was completely fucked up, bipolar, depressed, anxious, suicidal. My body was broke. I barely could walk a quarter mile before everything like stiffened up on me. My fascia system was no longer working. Energy stuck. I was just toxic. My family, all my relationships in my family were falling apart. Everything was in just decay. And I could have killed myself. Been easy. I could have ran away. I could have done all those things, but I didn't. I chose to go through the fucking fire. I walk through it every single day, and I still do every single day. I walk through all my fears. I walk through all my traumas. I faced all those relationships. I faced myself. I built a relationship with myself. I forgave. I had compassion, empathy. And through that, I started to choose different. I started to choose to put better foods in my body. I started to choose not to drink alcohol. I started to choose to build better relationships with people that were on the like mind of me and not stay friends with assholes who abused me. So at the end of the day, the only thing we can do is be the beacons, put our truth out here like we do constantly, right? We're constantly putting our truth out there. We're reflecting in the hologram to those who are still sleeping, you know, where their gaps are. And eventually it will work. Because here's the thing, Father, Mother, God is still blasting us with love, still radiating our bodies, unlocking our DNA, and allowing for us to remember who we are. Everyone, every vessel, tree, foliage, fauna, everything in the entire world, in the universe right now is ascending. And here's the thing about being human. As the God fractals of consciousness, we're already ascended beings. We've done this already. We've done this many times in form. That's why we're here doing it again, remembering so that we can go, hey, it's not that bad. Here, this is how you do it. And that's what we're being tapped to do right now. Is we spent the last year, 30 years, healing and growing and doing all these things, right? Right?
30 years.
Yeah, 30 years. Because we're meant to be the educators and the leaders of the next wave and the next wave and the next wave. We're ground crew. And so for us, you're doing exactly what you need to be doing. Just like you said, I'm doing my studies, I'm healing, I'm researching, I'm changing my lifestyle. And I bet you right now, if I ask you this question, which I'm going to pose this question, how are the relationships in your life? How are the people around you? Are they improving? Are they changing the way they kind of are thinking and feeling and seeing?
Oh my goodness. Well, for one thing, I'm missing a lot of relationships. I mean, a lot of us have pretty much lost everything and everybody. So like what relationships, you know, nobody's stuck around. We either kick people out of our life because they vibrate right out, they're not worthy of us, or they think we're nuts because we ascended and they have no clue what we're talking about and they can't handle it. And then you have those that are just going to try to pull us down. You know, I have people that I just don't talk to anymore by choice and a firm boundary line because they're constantly poisoned. I got too many things I need to be showing up for. You know, I'm here to show up for humanity and for myself. So I can't do that if I got all that weighing me down. So you know, it very much feels like the life of Job right now, where, you know, lost everything in it and everybody. Locally, a lot of us don't have people because we're not on the same page with anybody. That's why we're online talking to people so that we could be with our people. So that's how that is. You know, I really miss having physical people to talk to that are on the same level, and it's now harder than ever to do that. So that's how that is.
When did those end? Like, when did that start? Kind of, when did you start deciding to choose you and end those unserving relationships?
Well, it started 4 years ago with a divorce, and then the rest came 2 years ago. You know, when this COVID stuff hit, and Gosh, I probably shouldn't have even said that. It's going to be a tag now, or a flag. So when all that went down, when all that went down, everybody, a lot of more of us, that was the catapult that just really exploded the awakening for a lot of us. Like, we were already awake to a sense, but then it was like, massive catapulting going on.
So 2016, 2017 was a big year for you. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think there's a lot of ground crew. I think there's a lot of first wavers that kind of started waking up around that time, but we don't really talk about it. And a lot of us are exhausted right now. And I know me, like, I don't even want to do this anymore sometimes, like 90% of the time now. And
yeah,
and
we're
so I'm
all
just
tired.
and
We're
so
like,
like I
we're
want to
done.
I want to relate. I want them to kind of relate to you with that 2016 story, because that's when a lot of us that are on here talking, creating content, doing all those things, that's when we started waking up. So this wasn't just 2020, people. We've been in this for 5-6 years already, if not 12. So yeah, talk a little bit
Well,
about that.
there's so many ways. For
Yes.
me, it wasn't 2016. It was, well, I mean, I did start, when it all comes down to it, it's energy and divine plan, but we live it perhaps differently. I know I did, and, still do. When I look back, for me, it felt circumstantial. It was like, all right, I was married for 23 years, got married at 16, and the whole time I was unhappy. Wasn't yes, wasn't a bad man, but just not a good fit, not a good match. And la 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 la. Once I realized that, it was like, all right, the kids are almost grown, they're almost done homeschooling, I can finally be free, and hence comes truck driving. I can finally, self-provide. At the same time, I was constantly working on food addiction and recovering from that, and recover my own health. And I relate to the fibromyalgia thing and how painful it is to just do simple things. And so, checking out all kinds of different diets for ways of living, not for weight loss, but for ways of living, because weight is just a symptom of poor health. And so the one that really did it for me, for my awakening, was the raw fruitarian diet, with fasting, detoxing. And so that catapulted me. I was strictly raw fruitarian for 9 months, and everything went away. All the pains, the stiffness, the depression, the foggy brain, the anxiety, like everything. And I could just walk, no pain, no stiffness, nothing, just go. Like, it was like a miracle. And happiness was just there. Like, and then there's lots of other details. You have zero body odor. Like, all this stuff just is amazing when you go that route. And then I met my twin flame, and that catapulted a lot of things. That was 2017. Actually, it's gonna be tomorrow, August the twin flame day. And if you know about twins, that and doing the hard stuff, getting out of your comfort zone, as you like to say. I had to do a lot of that, and then more and more was demanded and forced of me. And I've went through a lot of tough fucking shit, some amazing heartbreaking stuff, and it was like boom, 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 boom. It's like, the dark night of the soul. I mean, people make jokes and memes about it, and
I call it Dark Winter, dude. Dark Winter.
Movie
4
scenes.
years.
Yeah, where you're like, somebody's beating you on the pavement, and they're like, that's what it feels
You
like.
want more?
Like,
I'll take
can I have
more.
a break, please?
Yeah.
Like, just let me breathe and like catch my breath.
Yes, I've actually asked. I was like, y'all, I can't take any more right now. Like, can you just stop? And they stop. They'll stop.
Like, you look up and you're like, seriously? Like, can I have a break? Like, oh my gosh.
But think about this, though. You got to think about this. In the past, it would take lifetimes to work through our karma. And now you get a year.
I call it spiritual boot camp. It's like, we ain't messing around, and
that's what I think this summer is. I think this summer is spiritual boot camp right now. Like, because this is why I think this year instead of last year is spiritual boot camp, because we don't have as much guidance. We're not getting as much disclosure as we were last year. There's not as much hype with all the people that pretended to be awake, jumping on the train and all that, right? And so right now we're on an island, And there's people falling off. There's like light workers not choosing to do the light work anymore. There's star seeds. They're like, fuck this, I'm not about it. There's people killing themselves. There's people going back to alcohol and drugs. And we're here trying to hold down the fort.
Oh my
I'm just
goodness.
like, I'm like, yo, I'm all about this life and shit, but I need some motherfucking help. Like, let's go. Like, can we make this happen?
Yes.
Jeez.
Well, you talk about needing help too. And a lot of us, I don't know how it is for the men, but, I always thought, I had this end of the world, repeating dreaming that happened for years. And so I always thought, gosh, I wish I was part of the 144. Well, now I know I am. And, now we know what end of the world really means. It means, a whole new thing. But I always thought, especially when you learn about twin flames, that we were going to have our life partner with us for this, mission that we're on.
We are our life partner
here. And so, like, and then these humanitarian projects are, getting funded and getting ready to start off, and just like, so would like to have my life partner now. Thanks. I mean, yeah, we show up for ourselves, but I mean, seriously, even there's been all kinds of prophecies saying, we're gonna, get in union and do our new paradigm Earth thing together, and we're all just waiting. Like, where are these men?
Thank you. All right, so that's the issue.
Find them.
That's the issue. That is the issue. All right, so I was always very feminine and sensitive growing up. Always tried to like hide that and tried to be, tried to like look at other guys around me and tried to kind of like take that on. So then I went in the Marine Corps and I completely just shoved it down deep. And then when I got out and I started having those awakenings, all of a sudden my DF started to come out. My divine feminine started to come out. And I kind of like, for the last 4 years, I spent a lot of my time in my divine feminine learning how to be creative, learning how to flow, learning how to, because like I'm coming from Virgo, which is my south node, which is very like authoritarian and freaking organized and disciplined. And I'm going to Pisces, which is just like a butterfly. So if you look at your south node in your natal chart and you look at your north node, your south node is who you were in your past life, and your north node is where you're going towards growing. And that's kind of the character.
Let me just write that down.
All right, somewhere. Yeah. So if you want, actually, you can jump on a Zoom with me, my friend Heather, and she can read you your natal chart and explain it to you. It's really amazing. It'll help you out with your ascension and stuff. Something I noticed real quick. Something I noticed about this is like when I'm dealing with a lot of men now in this field and in this community, instant trigger city. We can't even communicate with one another, dude. Especially over the last moon, like divine masculines. Because here it is, me, I don't beat around the bush. I'm a straight shooter. I don't bullshit.
That's how I am.
And when you have a broken DM,
what you see is what you get.
Yeah, when you have a broken divine masculine, though, everything's ego and everything is, you take it all personal. Mm-hmm. So you have all these men out there that are trying to be these leaders in New Earth when they haven't led themselves. And so they haven't led themselves out of their own hell. They haven't led themselves out of their own bullshit. And because they haven't gotten in touch with their feminine side, they think that they're further than they are. And in reality, all you got to do is ask them a few questions and you see that they're exactly the same age as their first trauma that's unaddressed. And so the reason that women, I'm seeing a lot of women are just kind of hanging out with each other or just kind of alone and doing their own thing is because there aren't enough men waking up. And that's the thing is, this is the time of the divine feminine. Y'all have been working your way to this point to be the leaders of New Earth. But here's the other thing is divine feminine, y'all don't have any compassion for the divine masculine anymore. Y'all don't have, I'm saying generally speaking, not you. I'm not saying
I defend the men all the time.
That's fine. But I'm saying generally speaking, women do not have any chill for men anymore. There's no compassion. There's no understanding because it's all about this idea that you patriarchs, you did this to us forever and you did this to me and you made me feel this way, which is bullshit. The feminism movement's bullshit. And so now you have generations of men who have no idea what their divine feminine is. You have generations of men who have no idea who they are, what they are, or why they are here. And you have all these women who think terribly about them and put them down because they themselves haven't healed from their own trauma. So now
for both sides, this is the huge paradigm that we need to shift between men and women. Like, for a long time, it was the cover photo on my Facebook for a long time was divine masculine, divine feminine, and divine masculine unite to bring about the new earth paradigm, something like that. And it's so important.
So,
And something I learned, I don't know, a year or two ago was, all this talk about calling people toxic. And then, a lot of people that were more ascended than I at the time was like, came along and gently said, well, actually, it's better to look at it as, unhealed. And I was like, okay, I really like that. I'm going to adopt that. Like, let's do away with the whole toxic thing. Like, yeah, we still live it as toxic, certain things, but let's not label people as toxic people. Let's look at them as unhealed. And if we look at them as unhealed, it's all about perspective. And that's where we get to the heart, where we can look at each other, no matter who they are, man, what, with compassion and patience and humility and grace, way more grace.
and how do we do that?
Well, I just said.
We give it to ourselves first. That's why men and women can't come together yet, is because they're trying to fill the hole in themselves with another person, when in reality, how does divine feminine masculine come together? It comes together inside of you. Become androgynous. Become the new earth human.
Yeah, there needs to be every balance in everything, and that has to do with the masculine, feminine, like you said, within us. But I'll say, here's an interesting thing. My friend and I were talking, when we talk about balancing the masculine and feminine, especially, a lot of us would think like 50-50, but she's like, I don't think it's 50-50. She says, I think it's more like 70-30. If you look at the yin yang symbol, like, yeah, it's in half in one sense, but it's like a 6 and then a 9. So it's kind of like got a more voluptuous part, and then it points up, right? And so like a masculine would be 70-30 and the feminine would be 70-30 feminine. And I was like, I really like that. Like, that makes sense, because 50-50 would probably be, too much. I know a lot of us feminines are feeling frustrated because we've been forced into a much more masculine energy, and we don't like that. We're so tired of it. And the masculines that have been doing their healing wind up with, well, it depends on where they're at, but a lot of masculines can wind up being too feminine. And like, we love those feminine sides to them, but now we're like, okay, this is like a little too much feminine. Please bring in some more masculine. And like, it's just, we want things to balance out. Like,
it's circling the drain now. It's really circling the drain, kind of. And in terms of like, so right now we're here where the guys were too masculine. Now they're over here, they're too feminine. Now they're over here, they're just a little too masculine. Now they're over here and they're just a little too feminine. And so that's the way I look at it.
And that's encouraging.
Balance.
It's gonna take time. Yeah. Yeah.
What I'm getting frustrated about is that all people talk about is the twin flame union. All people talk about is relationship with somebody else. And the thing is like, what makes you think that you earn that? What makes you think that you deserve that yet, when you yourself haven't gone through the trials and tribulations, which is misapplication of energy or thought, separation from God, fear. That's all trial and tribulation is. You haven't gone through your trials and tribulations to fill your gaps. Because here's the thing, if people were as far as they think they were, then they wouldn't be yearning for something outside themselves. And they would allow the universe to bring them the relationship when it's time to come. And here's the thing. Absolutely. If you're not good with where you're at right now, you're living an illusion. That is the absolute illusion, is that I'm not whole.
No, I understand a lot of these points, but this is where I say perspectives are so valuable, because, it's like you could post a really important thought or quote, and people will, there's a message that you intend to say, there's a message that you say, and then there's a message that people hear, and everybody hears a different message, that kind of thing, And
that's why you say it straight from the cuff, and you just shoot it.
For me, I know my worth. I know how much I love myself, but it doesn't stop it from hurting that somebody else doesn't realize that. It's like, all right, I know my worth and my love, but is anybody going to show up who does and who knows how to treat a woman?
Saying it and feeling it are two different things. And so we start by saying it in our heads until we're convinced that we believe it. Then we start taking the actions and the steps to actually believe it, to be it, and to live it. And then we manifest that reality because we let go of yearning for it. We let go of thinking about it, and we allow the universe to bring it to us in divine timing. But when we're outside of ourselves and we don't actually believe what it is we think, that's when we start to feel like, oh, why is this not happening for, I'm in the boat right now. Money. That's my thing. Relationships, sometimes money for me. So I believe that I'm abundant. I believe that I'm all these things, but do I feel it all the time? Not when I'm freaking out when my back's against the wall. So what the universe
I totally feel you there. Like I was just saying that yesterday, those exact same words. I'm like, exactly. Like I'm thinking about abundance all the time. I'm thinking this. I know my word. I'm not afraid of money. But how am I gonna, like, I can pretty much conquer fear about everything. But when it comes to money, that's like, oh my gosh. Or having faith about money, it's like, yeah, you can have faith a long time, but like, all right, my rent's due in 5 days and I'm still $300 short. and I'm doing everything I can. And there's like, okay, you're supposed to go with the flow and not, do this. But I mean, what do? You just go there and you lay down on your bed and wait for the money to come in? Like, heck no. I mean, you don't, right? What do you do? What do you do?
What do I do? What I do is I still do. All right. So this is what they tell me every time I start freaking out about money. I go, what am I going to do? And they're like, exactly what you're doing. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm broke right now. What are we talking about? And they're like, just because you're broke in this now moment doesn't mean you're going to be broke in the next now moment. You're projecting where you are in this now moment into a future now moment, and you're manifesting that timeline so you can walk it. So every time we're broke and we think about being broke, and we think about being broke 5 days from now, most likely we're going to be broke from 5 days from now. When we think about all the lack in our life, when we're constantly dwelling on what we don't have, we're going to create more of what we don't have. The whole point of us being broke is so that the universe and God can show us that it doesn't define us, it doesn't actually matter, and it doesn't change anything. The only thing that changes is the thoughts inside of our heads about ourselves. That's the illusion. And just because I have $300 in my bank account now and I'm $200 short from 5 days of rent doesn't mean I'm a piece of shit, but that's how we treat ourselves. But that's how we treat ourselves. That's how we think of ourselves. Because we may not say those words, but this, what am I going to do? I can't do this. I'm not going to make it happen. You might as well just say you're a piece of shit and you're not good enough. You're never going to make that money. It's the same vibes. And that's what it's going back to. We can say the words out loud all we want, but if we don't feel it, it ain't real. And so that's what I'm trying to get at is like back to the divine masculine and divine feminine. For the first time, divine masculines are being vulnerable and they're being repudiated because of it. And so just like women, right? Women were made fun of for being emotional and sensitive and having feelings and all this. All of a sudden, the coping mechanisms for the divine masculine aren't working anymore. All of a sudden, I can't just ignore my feelings. All of a sudden, I have to feel them. I don't know how to feel them. I wasn't taught how to feel them growing up. I was told not to feel them. I was told you're a pussy to feel your feelings. I was told you're gay to being sensitive. And so now we're in this situation where the divine feminines that are healing are looking for the real men, but they're not willing to reach behind him and go, well, I helped create this too. So let's kind of help bring them. It's not about that. Now it's like, well, fuck you guys. You guys have been this fucking patriarch this whole time. And it's all about me. I'm going to get mine. And that's where that masculine.
So I would love to hear you. What would that look like? How would we reach back? And what is the best way to help these men? I mean, I know what I've done. I know my intentions and my heart, and I've done a lot of that, but like, what does that look like for you? That whole thing. I mean, there's obviously a lot more grace involved.
What I see it as is I first see women coming together and empowering themselves, not against anything. Right. So back in 2019, I put on I put on a military women's forum where I brought 200 military women together from around Tampa. I brought 15 to 20 of the biggest corporations down there. And I had women speakers come on and talk about the realness, like really successful women. So CEOs, I had an army general who was a woman. I had a bunch of like really successful women who have built these amazing lives and done these amazing things, and then talk about the realness of what it was like. There was times where my back was against the wall and I didn't think I was going to be able to pay my bills. I thought I wasn't going to be able to keep my kid. I thought I was going to die in a war zone, And so what women need to do is women need to stop trying to be masculine and trying to stop playing with the big boys. And they need to just do what they're doing, which is exactly what they need to be doing. Come together, stop fighting one another and being like this weird, petty, because women don't really work together that well. That's the difference. Women are petty. They compete with one another. They kind of like, they gossip, it's like it's really bad energy a lot of times.
The patriarchal women that aren't highly conscious yet. Yes, those women are.
Of course,
I saw a lot of that in the world, but not in the women I've been meeting lately.
But what I'm saying is we're not talking about you and the starseed women. We're talking about women. We're talking about men. And
no,
so
I mean, I was just sorting it out in my head.
The general thing is that men are, they're fucking gung-ho. They come in, they take shit over, they fucking say whatever they want, they make people feel small, they do all these things. And so women are like, they either have to be more masculine or they cower and they don't get seen, heard, or acknowledged. And because they're feeling a certain way, then they start taking out on people that they feel comfortable taking out on, which is each other. And then all of a sudden you start creating this infighting where women need to be coming together, empowering themselves and going, we want the men around us, but we don't fucking need you. And once you start getting to that point, men are going to go, but we want to be around women. We like women. And then you start leading from the front. You start empowering one another, showing that you don't need the men, and then the men will choose to come. But by telling people and forcing people and putting people on stuff like it happened with us, it ain't going to work. Just like a man telling a woman, you shouldn't be so emotional. You shouldn't be so sensitive. You shouldn't cry. Well, look how that turned out. Look how that turned out. And so now it's both ways. It's the patriarch and the matriarch need to go away. And we need to come together into purple. We need to come together into androgyny. And we need to see that the only thing that really makes us different is kind of the way we think. And there's a reason for that, because if women thought like men and men thought like women, there'd be so many gaps in the world. It wouldn't be a complete experience. And so we need to learn how to respect one another. We need to learn how to talk to one another, communicate, and go, okay, a woman, she's 5'3", 135 pounds. She's probably not going to lift this 100-pound thing, but she sees things that that the men on the floor don't see. So she'd be a good foreman. So she could tell everybody what needs to be done while respecting them. And then the guys are the ones doing the work. Because in reality, that's what divine feminine, divine masculine do. The divine masculine it comes up with the ideas that want to do something. I want to be an astronaut. That's your divine masculine. Then your divine feminine goes, this is how you do it. You're going to do this, this, and that. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're going to go here. You're going to meet this person. You're going to meet that. And then the divine masculine goes, thank you, and then runs with it. So you're
really?
right. Yes. Yes.
You think it would go down like that?
No, it's not about thinking how it goes down. It's the energy in your body and how it works. Again, you're still focused on genitals. You got to get rid of this idea that women are vaginas and men are penises. It's this thing is just, that's what it really is. It's a genital war we're at right now. It's so basic. It's so in animalistic to still be fighting each other over what's hanging between our legs.
And I'm thinking of the masculine and feminine energy.
Yes.
Usually the masculine is more logical, the feminine is more feeling. And when I think of logic, I mean, you said, the feminine would do this, where I usually think of the masculine energy, not the being the one to lay out the step by step. So that kind of caught me by surprise that you saw it that way.
Let me ask you a question. Who are the human resource managers? Who are the ones that run nursing teams? Who are the ones that plan the household? Who are the ones that plan trips and put everything together? Who are the ones that dream and kind of come up with these ideas and then go, hey, can you do this? Fine. And then the guy gets off the couch and starts doing the yard work or starts, cutting the wood or starts doing the thing. Without the woman, without the divine feminine, there is no inspiration, because the divine feminine is spirit. Divine masculine is human.
That's beautiful. Well, yeah. Lots of deep stuff there. I want to run something past you. It was really awesome, and you may have seen it run across my channels if you've been out there looking, but it's been a long time coming, and I've literally been waiting for this message to come out from some man, a healed man or healing man. And I ran across this guy on Facebook just less than a week ago, and he was making all these videos. He had done quite a bit of healing, and he said that he has wound up being staying in his feminine way too much and avoiding feminines because he knew that if he let his masculine out, it tended to turn bad really fast because it would get all toxic. And so he's like, all right, let's not let that guy out. And he would just stay in his feminine. And then he realized that consequently, it made all the feminines in his life turn more masculine. And when I heard his message, and he wrote it out, plus did the video. And when I saw his message, I was like, holy cow. And I immediately tagged 3 people that all of this was happening to us, and we have been talking about this, like it exactly is the problem that we've been seeing. And like with, you know, me and another feminine is like, we're totally feeling that. It's like, yeah, we've had to totally, you know, be more masculine, and we don't want to be, we want to, you know, get back into whatever balance that's supposed to be. So I thought that was awesome. And I like shared all his stuff, and I was like, you know, big kudos to you, keep going. But like we've needed that message for a long time, and to hear it from a man, it was like so great. Like we all need healing. It was beautiful to see that perspective and to have it broken down like that. It's like, oh, so that must be what's happening, you know, with these other men and with us. So would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, here's the number one thing is women face their emotional shit most of the time better than men, not all the time, but they face it better than men. They talk to their girlfriends about it. They talk to their moms about it. They kind of work through it. That could also go towards gossip and start recreating more of it. So there's always that balance. But what do guys do? We don't talk about it. We drink it away. We lift it away. We go work it away. We're not dealing with it. So what did this guy do? This healing man, what did he do? Oh, I don't like my divine masculine, so I'm not going to let him come out. It was good. It was a good observation for him, so that he could see, wow, when I don't do that, this is the reaction. This is what happens with the people around you. So that goes back to this theory is the hologram that we're in exactly set up for us? Because he was saying basically when he was too feminine, all the feminine in his life became more masculine. And when he was too masculine, all the so it's like, it's almost as if to balance his energy, because he wasn't able to do it for himself, the quantum realm around him started to balance it out for him. And it reflected in the hologram to show him where his gaps were, which is you can't run away from your divine masculine, because that's what I was doing. I was running away from my divine masculine because for 4 years, you know, like, look at men, you know, I'm a white man, you know, white men are the worst fucking beings in the world. We're racist, sexist, xenophobes, and we deserve to not have any rights or have any, you know, feelings or emotions, and we should just all be fucking killed, you know? Like that was the vibe I got over the last 4 years. And so I turned my divine masculine off. I turned my white man off, you know, and I started hiding in plain sight. I started hiding behind really nice haircuts and really nice clothes and verbose sentence structures. And, you know, I started going, yeah, seriously. I started going out and trying to help. I started working in different communities, trying to show people that all white people weren't racist, that all white men weren't sexist xenophobes. You know what I'm saying?
Good,
so
thank you. Good,
and
well
so
done.
in reality, what it is we don't feel safe being ourselves. And then we're made fun of when we're not ourselves. And then we're repudiated when we're not ourselves, but we don't even know who that is or what that is. And so what he saw was that you have to walk through the fire of who you are, man. So something big I've been doing is just, I used to hate getting triggered. And when I got triggered, I'd go on a bender. I'd just go get fucking hammered. Like my dad and I get in an argument, and I'd just go get so drunk. I'd be hungover for like 4 days. And it was just, I did that over and over and over again. And eventually I was like, there's a pattern here that every time I get in an argument, I go and do this, because I didn't make the connection at first. So I stopped doing that. I stopped eating the chips. I stopped watching Netflix, and I started to just deal with the fucking triggers, right? I started just walking through them. Trigger, like my physical PTSD trigger, literally.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
pow,
and then,
pow, pow.
right? And so it's like the first one was like, and the second one was like, and then by the 15th one, it was like, huh. By the 25th one, it was like, huh. And now I don't get triggered. And so here it is, divine masculines. Here it is, men. Be a fucking man about it. Stop being a little boy. Stop running from your problems. Stop running from your issues and face your shit. Face yourself. And I promise you, within 6 months of facing yourself every moment of every day, you'll be good. Because we don't have that much to heal.
Talk about your shit and feel your shit. Yeah. Well, I totally, I've been saying this for a long time, and I've seen it with my dad. When I was a kid, I observed it, you know, and not all men, you know, feel like they have this same programming put on them, because, you know, some have said that's not why they are the way they are. But
sexual abuse. That's another thing we don't talk about, especially as men. You know how many of us were sexually abused as kids?
Emotional abuse. Well, that's a whole nother thing. But going back to the, you know, I really, really encourage men to feel stuff. Like, it's okay. Forget the programming. And women love that. I mean, I left my marriage because we could not get to an intimate soul level. As I was approaching, age 40, I was like, huh, all right, so this is really nice and this is really nice, but like we're just like roommates. Like, there's no intimacy, there's no depth of conversation, of
He had
spirit,
none.
of soul,
He had no
of
depth.
relationship. And not a bad guy. I'm not gonna bad talk him, but I started noticing these things, and a person has got to be able to talk about their feelings, about how you feel about
You're not going to
somebody,
grow.
and just life, not just bitch and complain, but the deep heartfelt stuff, whether it's hurt and pain, insecurities, or hey, I love you because, all that stuff.
Which is like pure love, and which is exactly what women run on, is like pure emotion and energy and communication and intimacy and affection.
Yeah. Well, a lot of men think that it's going to make them look weak. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's sexy as fuck. Like, bring it here. It doesn't mean want you to be like a wuss dang, like all the freaking time. Like, we still want you to
what I noticed is
sit down and be masculine, but like,
you're more of a wuss when you don't deal with your emotions, because you're all emotional.
Well, yeah. So, it's hard though, because I know I've heard a lot of men say, like, especially in the years that we were going to church, I'm not in religion or nothing. But you know how it is, church is like shame and blame. They're like, here's what you need to do, and you're not doing it right. And all the men are going, yeah, great, but how the fuck do we do it? And so, as part of the new earth paradigms, we got to just keep showing up and showing people how to do it. Like, what does that look like? Like, we all need that. So maybe we're not good at XYZ, but if we're good at ABC, then let's show them how to do ABC,
So we're getting to the end of this interview. Let's talk about the New Earth Project. Let's talk about your Telegram, and let's talk about how people can support you and follow you and do anything that can help you out in your path. And then we'll sign off.
Okay. Well, it's called Our Love the World Project.
I'll have the links. I'll have the links and stuff.
The main thing of it all. And then was born Humanitarian 5D Leadership, which that's pretty self-explanatory, right? And 5D New Earth Paradigms, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? And then there's Highly Conscious. I really wish I would have known that stuff when I was raising my kids. Like, I was super intentional the whole time I was raising my kids. Very, biblical love, all this stuff. Although, my son grew up and joined the Navy. He was like, yeah, but you didn't like show us how to live out the faith. I'm like, what? Are you always gonna fault me for something? But anyway, as hard as I tried to not bring in toxic parenting things from our upbringing, which we did dang well, coming from an alcoholic home and a drug addict home on his side. We did amazing for our kids, but they think they had it so hard. So anyway, we did pretty good, but some things still snuck in from, our parents. But now I'm learning all this highly conscious parenting stuff, and I'm like, just like throwing it in there, because everybody needs to learn that stuff, and it goes back to, not telling those kids and those boys, hey, suck it up, get up and don't show your feelings. Like, no, like, feel it to feel it, name it to tame it. So that's going to be so beautiful with these generations. Okay, so a little bit of a tangent. So those are some of those channels, and I got the YouTube channel, got on Facebook, all that stuff. Okay, what else did I not cover?
Instagram, Facebook, website.
I'm not on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I actually do most of my stuff at Victoria's Faith Rose, and I have the Our Love the World Project and all those other channels. But I'm really on Telegram most of the time, and I really like to delete Facebook. I'm so sick of Facebook. Really, I'm kind of sometimes I just get tired of giving, because just like,
you gotta give to yourself too.
Is anybody there? What?
You gotta give to yourself too.
Yeah, that's definitely something I'm always out of balance on, is over giving. So that's something I'm trying to focus on, is like, stop over giving, stop giving to the wrong people.
Did you want to leave the audience with anything, like any advice, any wisdom, anything before we sign off?
My mottos, my slogans, my whatever things I always want to leave with people is, we're in this together. We've got to stick together. That's how we do it. Worldwide unity. You know, it's not about one country, make America great again. It's the whole thing, the whole world, you know, is global. You know, why play small? Let's, you know, think big here. And it takes teamwork for the dream to work. Worldwide unity, highest and best for all. Like, that's the number one thing, highest and best for all. If we are about highest and best for all with everything that we're doing, it's a win-win for everybody.
I really appreciate you, Victorious Rose, for coming on the Ascension Files. This was an amazing conversation. I kind of talked a lot of it, but apparently you had good questions. I was all jived up, you know. These are the conversations I love to have, and these are the ones that we need to have more of, and we need to get them blasted out so that more people see that what they're thinking and feeling is actually becoming mainstream. That's the difference, is that the media is controlling the narrative, so people's thoughts aren't being reflected in the hologram and they think they're alone. You're not alone.
Yes.
You're not alone. We're here. We're coming together. We're making this happen. And it's just these interviews, YouTube, Telegram, get into communities, get into meditation, start channeling. Let's do this. So thank you so much, Victorious Rose. I can't wait to have you on again. I definitely want to do a 5D parenting interview with you and maybe some other parents, have like a 4-way or something.
Yes.
And with that, if you liked what you've seen and heard today, hit that like button. If you want to join the Army of Energy, hit that subscribe button. If you want to continue this conversation, check me out on Telegram at t.me/Army of Energy chat. If you feel so inclined and you want to donate to our work and help us build the Army, I'd be so grateful. Don't feel obligated. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful day, an even better evening, and I will see you again sometime soon. Take care and goodbye.